convenient, which with that any part of life should be going through Captain Biorhythm or that they do and we actually that it doesn't make you affected. It also for that where rename this as high tech interfere with own stress. Well, or you take using of the free form of hormone
Are you referring to different words in the brain cells?
This is a layer. What do we do around the brain? All life. You're right. It comes to a or a kind of where you the certain act one is extremely small. And I for you most of the so out of the at all, if you on you want to that effect where and